In today's news, escalating conflicts and significant political changes dominate the headlines. Israel and Hamas intensify their brutal war, while Ukraine faces renewed threats from Russia. Japan unveils a revolutionary plan for its workforce using AI. Here are today's top 10 stories you need to know. Humanitarian organizations are grappling with significant challenges in delivering aid to conflict-affected regions, where violence and instability reign. Bureaucratic hurdles, such as restrictive regulations and lengthy approval processes, further complicate the distribution of essential supplies. Additionally, escalating security risks for aid workers are making it increasingly perilous to operate in these areas. The ongoing violence not only disrupts logistics, but also exacerbates the suffering of vulnerable populations, including women and children. Aid workers are urgently calling for enhanced international support and collaboration to navigate these obstacles effectively. The situation highlights the critical need for innovative humanitarian strategies that prioritize both the safety of aid personnel and the well-being of civilians. Looking ahead, the global community must mobilize resources and expertise to ensure timely assistance reaches those who need it most. As global geopolitical tensions rise, several nations are reevaluating their foreign policies in response to recent conflicts. Heightened aggression from rival states has spurred discussions around military alliances and strategic partnerships. Countries are increasingly concerned about security threats, particularly from regions experiencing instability. This shift in perspective is leading to a significant surge in defense spending and comprehensive military modernization efforts across various nations. Analysts warn that these developments may ignite a new arms race as countries strive to enhance their military capabilities. The implications of this trend could fundamentally reshape international relations, potentially escalating future conflicts. As nations grapple with these evolving dynamics, the quest for stability and security remains paramount. Looking ahead, we might witness a reconfiguration of global alliances as nations prioritize defense collaboration to counter emerging threats. The international community is responding to the escalating humanitarian crisis in Gaza with urgent calls for assistance. The ongoing violence has led to catastrophic living conditions, with thousands of civilians caught in the crossfire. Countries and organizations are mobilizing resources to provide relief, but aid agencies face significant challenges in delivering supplies due to the conflict. The blockade has intensified shortages of food, water, and medical supplies, raising alarms about the well-being of the population. Governments around the world are advocating for an immediate ceasefire to facilitate humanitarian corridors for aid distribution. These efforts highlight the critical importance of international cooperation in addressing humanitarian needs. As diplomatic negotiations intensify, the necessity for a coordinated global response becomes undeniable. The crisis not only threatens regional stability, but also underscores the urgent need for a sustainable resolution that safeguards human rights and prioritizes humanitarian aid delivery. A comprehensive peace agreement remains essential for lasting stability in the region. The ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East are beginning to exert significant pressure on global markets. These geopolitical tensions have led to a sharp surge in energy prices, primarily due to disruptions in supply chains that affect oil and gas exports. Energy-rich nations are leveraging their resources, while countries reliant on imports face mounting economic challenges. Investors are closely monitoring the situation, fearing that prolonged instability could trigger a recession in multiple economies worldwide. Nations like Germany and Japan, heavily dependent on energy imports, are particularly vulnerable to these price hikes. Governments are being urged to develop contingency plans to mitigate the impact of fluctuating energy costs, with some exploring alternative energy sources. The interconnected nature of the global economy is increasingly evident as rising prices affect inflation rates and consumer spending. Looking ahead, future economic forecasts may hinge not only on the resolution of these conflicts, but also on the effectiveness of strategic energy policies implemented by affected nations. In a surprising development, the U.S. Coast Guard has removed a vessel from a New York City parade due to controversial banners displayed on board. The vessel, which was intended to celebrate the city's vibrant culture, sparked public outcry and raised questions about freedom of expression and the boundaries of political messaging in public spaces. This incident occurs against a backdrop of heightened political polarization in the United States, where symbols and slogans often evoke strong reactions. Officials deemed the banners inappropriate, reflecting a growing sensitivity to political discourse in celebratory contexts. The decision has ignited passionate debates among citizens, activists, and lawmakers regarding the role of government in regulating speech. Many argue that such actions stifle free expression, while others support maintaining decorum in public festivities. As the nation grapples with these issues, the implications of this decision may influence future events and regulations concerning public demonstrations, potentially setting a precedent for how political messages are managed in public forums. The evolving landscape of free speech will undoubtedly face further scrutiny. A new bill has been introduced aimed at combating misinformation in agriculture extension services. This legislation seeks to ensure that farmers receive accurate and reliable information, which is crucial for improving agricultural practices and enhancing food security. In recent years, the rapid spread of false information, often fueled by social media, has undermined public trust in agricultural advisories. This has led to significant challenges for farmers, including poor crop yields and unsafe farming practices. The bill is expected to establish clear guidelines for information dissemination and foster collaboration between agricultural experts and local communities. By creating a framework for reliable communication, the legislation aims to empower farmers with the knowledge they need to succeed. As policymakers debate its potential impact, the agricultural sector is hopeful that it will lead to more informed decision-making and ultimately a more resilient food system. Stakeholders are eager to see how the initiative will be implemented and its effectiveness monitored as it rolls out across various regions, potentially transforming agricultural practices for the better. Japan has unveiled an ambitious plan to deploy 10 million AI-powered robots across various sectors by the year 2040. This initiative is primarily designed to tackle the nation's ongoing labor shortages, driven largely by an aging population and declining birth rates. As the workforce shrinks, Japan faces immense pressure to sustain economic growth, making innovative solutions essential. The government believes that integrating AI technology can fundamentally transform traditional work environments, boosting productivity and efficiency in critical industries such as manufacturing, healthcare, and agriculture. However, this significant shift raises concerns about potential job displacement, prompting discussions on the necessity of extensive retraining programs for affected workers. Experts emphasize that a balanced approach is vital to ensure that human workers can coexist and thrive alongside AI. As Japan positions itself as a leader in robotics and AI, other nations grappling with similar demographic challenges may look to its model for inspiration. The successful implementation of this initiative could redefine the future of work, making Japan a beacon of innovation in the global economy. Russian President Vladimir Putin has made a significant public appearance at a military installation, vowing to seize more territory in Ukraine. This visit comes at a time when Russian forces are reportedly facing severe supply shortages and operational setbacks on the battlefield. Putin's rhetoric is strategically aimed at rallying support from the Russian populace, countering narratives of military failures that have emerged in recent months. Analysts suggest that this display of strength is intended to reinforce Russia's commitment to its objectives in Ukraine, despite the challenges being faced. The visit has provoked sharp reactions from NATO and other Western nations, who perceive it as a sign of escalating aggression and a potential precursor to further military operations. As Putin continues to emphasize military readiness, the potential for renewed conflict remains a pressing concern for the region and beyond. Observers are left to consider how this posturing will influence international responses and the ongoing war efforts. In the coming weeks, the focus will likely shift to whether NATO will increase its support for Ukraine in light of these developments. Ukraine is bracing for intensified military actions as Russian forces threaten key strategic positions in the eastern regions. Recent intelligence reports indicate that Russian troops are mobilizing in significant numbers, aiming to breach Ukraine's defenses in Donetsk, a critical area that has seen fierce fighting. This escalation follows a series of successful Ukrainian drone strikes that have reportedly disrupted Russian supply lines, showcasing Ukraine's growing tactical capabilities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urgently called for increased military aid from Western allies, emphasizing the necessity for robust defense systems to counter the Russian threat. The international community is closely monitoring the situation, with NATO conducting military exercises in support of Ukraine's sovereignty. Analysts warn that the conflict could spiral into a wider war if diplomatic channels fail to yield meaningful results. Each side is preparing for a prolonged confrontation, with potential ramifications for regional stability and global security. The ongoing hostilities have already resulted in significant humanitarian challenges, displacing thousands of civilians. As tensions mount, the international response will be pivotal in shaping the conflict's trajectory. If Western nations can provide timely assistance, Ukraine may bolster its defenses and deter further Russian advances, potentially shifting the balance in this protracted. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has escalated dramatically, with both sides intensifying military operations in recent days. A series of airstrikes launched by Israel, coupled with retaliatory rocket attacks from Hamas, have resulted in a staggering increase in civilian casualties, raising alarm over a potential humanitarian crisis in Gaza. This latest surge in violence has drawn widespread international condemnation, with numerous nations and organizations calling for an immediate ceasefire to prevent further loss of life. The Israeli government argues that its military actions are essential for national security and the protection of its citizens, while Hamas asserts its right to defend its territory against what it perceives as aggression. The ramifications of this conflict extend far beyond the immediate region, igniting tensions among various political factions worldwide. Neighboring countries are preparing for possible spillover effects, as thousands of Palestinians are forced to flee their homes in search of safety. The situation remains fluid, with diplomatic efforts being made to broker a lasting peace agreement. As hostilities persist, the urgency for a ceasefire becomes increasingly critical. Stakeholders are now focusing on sustainable solutions that address the underlying issues fueling the conflict. The international community is poised to intervene, with the hope of establishing a framework for lasting peace in the region. Thank you for watching today's news roundup. Which story shocked you the most? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.